Adhuna Varnamalam prati gacchamaha. We will quickly revise the Varnamala that we have learned in the previous class, and then we will proceed to today's class. To start with, Varnamalayam pradhanataya tatra त्रयः विभागाः सन्ति स्वराः अयोगवाहौ व्यञ्जनानि इति अस्माभिः अधीतं. We have learnt that Varnamala can be mainly classified into three categories, which are swaras, ayogavahaha, and then vyanjanani. And a detailed classification will be like this: Varnamala, swaraha, ayogavahaha, and vyanjanani. And in swaras, there are three kinds: Hrasva, Dirgha, and Pluta. In Ayogavaha, I have depicted it as two kinds. The main, if you see in the previous slide or also in our Prathama textbook, it is given as two Ayogavahas, which are Anuswara and Visarga, which is and Aha. The other two, what you see, Upadhvaniya and Jihvamuliya, these two are variations of the Visarga. Depending on where the Visarga is coming, for example, if Visarga is followed by either kakara or khakara, k, then the sound that is produced or that should be pronounced when saying such kind of two words will become jihva moliya. For example, kaha, karoti. If we consider these two, after kaha, after this visarga, you have karoti, the starting with ka. Then the sound will become kah karoti. A half visarga or a sound like hakara is what is heard. This sound is called jihva moliya. Similarly, if visarga is followed by pa or tha, for example, kaha pibati, we will just ask this question: kaha pibati? Then kaf pibati, kaf pibati. There is a sound like F, in the English alphabet F. This sound is called upadhvaniya. These two are variations of the visarga, and hence we can say ayogavaha are two, which is anuswara and visarga. That is also a correct statement. But if you want to elaborately say that there are four ayogavaha, which are anuswara, visarga, and upadhvaniya and jihvamulya, that is also correct. Next, in vyanjanas, we have vargiya and avargiya vyanjana. And one more important thing here, the alpa prana and mahaprana are there in both the vargiya vyanjanas and avargiya vyanjanas. Alpa prana and mahaprana are not just limited to vargiya vyanjanas. This has to be noted. So this will be clear in the next slide. Anyway, in the Varna Vibhaga, the major classification of the Varnamala has been like this. And don't confuse to be Jihvamulya or Aha to be Upadhvaniya. These are all four different letters which are part of Ayogavaha. And Vyanjanas and Vargiya and Avargiya Vyanjanani. I hope this part of the classification is clear to all of you. And when we go to the next classification or detailed classification of Vyanjanas, there are a few confusions and doubts. I have received a few emails asking for the clarifications related to that. I will tell about it shortly. So this is one shloka, one karika that is important that every one of us have to remember it. I will just recite this so that you will be able to practice it and remember this. Ekamatro bhaved hrasvaha द्विमात्रो दीर्घ उच्यते त्रिमात्रस्तु प्लुतो ज्ञेयः व्यञ्जनन्त्वर्धमात्रकम्. So the essence of or the meaning of this shloka is a short vowel is one which is pronounced in a duration of one matra kala or one time unit. A long vowel requires two matra kalas. A protracted vowel or a plutaswara requires three matra kalas. And consonants require half matra kala. So this shloka or a karika will help us remember these matra kalas for each of these category of letters. This might be also asked in the exam to explain about how are the swaras classified or what are the matra kalas for swaras, for dirgha swaras, for pluta, for vyanjana, and so on. So please try to memorize this shloka, which is a very simple and easy to remember as well. Now, we are all clear with respect to how the swaras are classified into hrasvaswaraha, dirghaswaraha, and plutaswaraha. I'm just flashing this slide so that it will be a revision for all of us from the previous class. And then this will be also useful for today's class moving forward. Now, when we come to the Vyanjana, there are more kinds of classification that can be seen in Vyanjanas. The first one which we have seen is the Vargiya Vyanjana and Avargiya Vyanjana. One is the classed or the grouped consonants, and the second part is ungrouped consonants. When we say it is grouped based on a certain property or a characteristic. For example, the Kavarga, if you take, how we depict this name is the starting letter of that particular group is associated. Kavargaha means all the 5 consonants which come under or which come after ka, the letter kakara. So all the letters have the same place of origin, which is throat, which is what we have learned. So similarly, we have chavarga, tavarga, tavarga, pavarga. These are the 5 grouped consonants, which are the Vargiya Vyanjanani. Varga means classed or grouped. Next is Avargiya Vyanjanani, which is Yara, Lava, Sha, Sha, Sa, Ha. These are Avargiya Vyanjanani. This part of the classification is again clear. Now, there is one more way in which we will be able to classify these letters into Alpaprana, Mahaprana, and Anunasika. So we will see that now. The first, the third of the group consonants, also the Anunasikas are Alpapranas. Along with that, Ya, Ra, La, Va. These 4 letters from Avargiya Vyanjanani are the Alpapranaha. Next is the Mahaprana, which is the second letter, the 4th letter of each Varga, and then Sha, Sha, Sa, Ha. These are the Mahapranas, which require more air, more energy to pronounce. The 5th letter of each Varga is called Anunasika because they require the help of our nose for pronunciation. I will pronounce these 5 letters, the Anunasika letters, as the pronunciation could be a bit tricky or a bit difficult at the beginning. The prime rule to pronounce any of these letters is to check the place of origin of the previous letters, and the 5th letter also should be pronounced from the same place. Now, ka, kha, ga, gha is from the throat. If you can place your hand on your throat, you'll be able to feel the vibrations. And similarly, the 5th letter also should be produced the same way. Nga, nga. Your tongue will not move anywhere. Ka, kha, ga, gha, nga. That is the pronunciation of this 5th letter. Similarly, for the 5th letter of Chavarga, cha, cha, ja, ja, nya. The same place as we pronounce for cha or ja. Nya. Our tongue will touch the back portion of our teeth, which is basically the palate. Cha, nya, nya. Also with the help of our nose. Next, na, we'll have to roll back our tongue. Na, ta, tha, da, dha, na. And this nakara is a dental letter. So our tongue will touch the teeth. Na, 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 na. That is the difference between these 2 letters. And the 5th letter, which is ma, is labial. So we'll have to close our mouth while pronouncing it. Ma. So this is a brief recap of the pronunciation aspect for all these Anunasika letters. Now, this is very important. There's one more way in which we classify this Varnamala into two parts, Karkasha Vyanjanani and Mrudu Vyanjanani. The first two letters of each Varga and sh, sh, sa, these three letters from the Avargiya Vyanjanani are called Karkasha Vyanjanani. Karkasha Vyanjanani are also called in English as hard consonants or surds. They require more energy to pronounce it. And one more way in which you can see it is they create something kind of a harsh sound, and hence these are called hard consonants or surds. The usage of this classification can be evident when we will learn some of the Sandhi concepts in your later classes. So just know that these letters, the first two letters of each Varga and sh, sa, these three letters from Avargiya Vyanjanani are called Karkasha Vyanjanani. And the next classification is Mrudu Vyanjanani. All the remaining letters, that is the third, fourth, fifth letter of each Varga, ya, ra, la, va and ha are the Mrudu Vyanjanani. So please note, Hakara belongs to Mrudu Vyanjanani. And next we have one more, which is classification for Avargiya Vyanjanas, where each of the four are called Antasthaha and the second four, sh, saha, are called Ushmanaha. Hakara is a Ushma Varna, but a Mrudu Vyanjana. Please note this distinction and classification. What is the real meaning of Antastha? These letters, ya, ra, la, va, are semi-vowels. The actual English word that we use is semi-vowels, because these are also pronounced similar to vowels without much of stress. Ya, ra, la, va. We are not giving too much of stress on any of these letters while pronouncing. And one more reason is these are formed because of there is a variation in the place of while pronouncing the alphabets. For example, ikara. If you take ikara, after telling ikara, if you immediately say akara, a together, then it becomes ya, 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 ya. So there is a variation from ikara to akara when we are pronouncing it. And all these letters end with a. So you can imagine that antasthaha, because of that, they have got this name as antastha. And the last one is ushmanaha. Ushma in general means heated. For all these letters, the flow of air is more. Sh, sa, ha. There's a free flow of air while pronouncing all these four letters. And hence, these are called Ushma Varnaha. So the first three, sh, sa, in English are called sibilants. And Hakara is called aspirate. Ha. So while we are saying ha, there is no restriction of the air anywhere. So the air which comes from our stomach comes out without any restrictions. And hence, it is called aspirate. And these four are Mahaprana Aksharas. These four are Mahaprana. And note, Hakara is Amrudu Vyanjana. Hope it is very clear with this classification how Karkasha Vyanjanani, Mrudu Vyanjanani are classified into. So I will pause a minute so that you can register all these concepts, and we will be able to move forward after this. Okay, so yeah, one important thing related to the difference between r and yara lava. What is the difference? Are they related to each other or not, etc.? So I will quickly touch upon that, and then we will continue. R, l, these are the swaras, and yara lava. These four antastha varnaha are related to e, u, r, l. These are related to these four swaras, and because of these four swaras, and then pronouncing these four swaras along with akara is that is how these four antastha varnaha yara lava are formed. So these are semi vowels but are classified under the consonants, and r are the swaras, are the vowels. So this is the difference between these two, and we will know further about this as and when the time comes. So far you can know the classification of the Varnamala into swaras and the Vyanjanas and all these concepts. And I hope this part is clear now.